Okay, hi everyone. As you already know, I'm Max, the CTO at Lexicon, and we're here for a special edition of Ask the CTO, where I'll be answering your burning tech questions and try to look a little bit into the future and whatever you want to hear about.
Yay.
Woohoo! Thank you. So, well, you guys go ahead. Do you have a first question, maybe?
I do. Will we have a robot girlfriend or robot boyfriend in the future?
Good question.
Yeah. So I think it's already happening in a way, but maybe not robots. But if you look at Japan, I'm always surprised at how many virtual, girlfriend, whatever game you see on Steam, the gaming platform, right? Like there is so many games about simulation of having a girlfriend. And I think it's especially in Japan, of course, but I think they're also leading the robotic in a way. So, of course, when there will be actual robots, I think we're going to see an evolution of this going from a game to a robot or whatever it is. I also really like the movie Her. I don't know if you saw it, about AI that was a girlfriend, an actual girlfriend, and I think it does have something that we might see in the future. So as AI move forward and other things, I think we'll see more of that, because many people probably suffer from isolation, especially in Japan. Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. That's answered my question. And
All right.
Who's next?
Yeah, I've got a question. I kind of want to ask more about robot girlfriends. My question, though, is around the cloud. Why do celebrities keep getting hacked? Like their photos and videos, and usually inappropriate photos and videos getting hacked. I thought the cloud was supposed to be secure. What's going on there?
Okay. So I think the problem is that people think that the cloud is secure, and then this happens. The technology behind it is mostly secure. But the problem is things evolve quickly, and if you don't update your web browser, your OS, or if you think that it's okay, I will never get hacked, this is when you get hacked. And there is different way of hacking someone, and the more resource you put into it, the more easily it can happen. So if you have money and you want to hack someone that you know has money, and to steal money from them or to steal their pictures and then blackmail them, it's possible if you have the resources. So how do you hack someone? Well, the first thing is, the easiest is using the same password on many websites. And there are security leaks from time to time. You can actually check online if your email has been, if a password related to your email was ever hacked. So you put your email on the website, will be able to tell you in 2019, Spotify was hacked and your password is leaked. So if you were ever using that password on another website, then there are robots that are just trying every website for your password and your email to see if they can get in. So using the same password on two important services might allow people to hack you. So that's the first thing. And then there is basically everything related to social engineering. So it's basically emailing someone to convince them that you're a representative of some institution, and maybe they will get you to give your phone number, your birth date, things like this, personal information. And for me, I'm always surprised that when I call the bank, they just ask me about my birthday and my phone number, and then they will say, okay, it's you, and you can do whatever you want. So this is a way you can also hack someone, just by asking a few personal information. And the last one, which is also very interesting, there was a lot of this with crypto, when crypto was very high. Many safe system relies on an OTP to authenticate you that you will get on your phone. And right now, the phone company are more careful, but back then, if you knew the right person in the phone company and maybe give them a little bit of under-table money, they would pretend that you lost your SIM card. Like if I went to the phone company, I knew someone, I'd pay them money, I would be able to say, hey, let's pretend this number have lost their SIM card and let's reassign it to a new SIM card. So then the hacker would get the OTP and they could pretend that, oh, this requires much more resource. But again, it's about thinking that it's safe, and it's not that safe.
Thanks, Max. Now I have more information needed to hack your photos.
You won't find much because I don't put personal photos on the cloud because, yeah, it's a cloud.
Maybe that's a good lesson. Ooh, oh.
Because here at Lexicon, we're all about storytelling. So here's a Lexicon question for you.
Mm-hmm.
How can tech be integrated into brand storytelling?
I think the answer is that tech has always been integrated in storytelling in general, starting from book printing at the very start, right? Basically, if you have a story, you need a way to tell it, right? If it's just you that knows the story, nothing really happens. So you need a way to show it to the world. It started with manuscript, then books, and yeah, then newspaper, TVs, computers, website. Tomorrow it's going to be VR. After that, thought transfer, I don't know. But there will always be a technology to tell stories. And the better the technology, the better you can tell the story, I think. So the answer is yes. It's actually, you need good content, you need good visual, and you need good tech to tell the best story, I think.
Okay. Does anyone else have questions?
May I ask a question, please? Thank you. So what programming language do you enjoy using the most?
Several. There are many languages, and the point is that different languages are good for different things. So it's more a question of what are we trying to do and what's the best way of doing it. But one of the, not language, but framework that I liked the most in the past year. So a language is a way to write something, and a framework is telling how you should write things. So putting some order on top of a language. So one of the framework I like the most recently is Laravel, which is a framework to write web applications, which really focus on convention and simplicity. Because I think that too many technology are too complicated, and you can get lost in the technicals. So I like the fact that a framework try to force you to do things in a simple way. So yeah.
Got it.
Thank you. Hey Max, so I hear a lot of talk about web apps recently, but what is a web app?
Yeah, it's interesting. So actually, most of the things you use every day are web apps. And the way to define a web app is basically a website that a user can add their own inputs, and it's going to change the output of the website. So in this way, Facebook, LinkedIn, Gmail, all the task management tools you have online, they're all web apps. They're websites, so they live in the browser, but you can interact with them and change the way the content is by inputting more content. So everything that can run into a browser is technically a web app, as long as you can interact with it.
This is only suitable for like big global companies like Gmail?
I don't agree. You have very complicated apps like Gmail or even Google Doc, right? That requires 100 of people working on it. But you have much smaller web apps. If you look at a simple booking application, like AirAsia, for example, they're not that much going on, right? So it can be quite simple. So there is really a web app for every budget. And the reason why it can be cheap is because you need only one and it works everywhere, whether it's on your phone or in your desktop. You don't need to make the same app over and over for Android, iPhone, desktop, and so on.
Very clear. Thank you. Anybody else?
So, yeah.
So, like talking about the web apps, I would like to know like any web apps project that you are proud about.
Project that I'm proud about. There are a few. I think, it's always an achievement to work on something challenging and to have a happy client, I guess. So website-wise, I think the Tileke website was an achievement for the whole team because it was a long project. It was a lot of stakeholder and great results. And web app, well, there is a big local brand. I don't know if I can mention it. You will beep it if it's not okay. But and their the parking application that lets you scan the QR code in the parking and know where you parked. Having this going from one mall to all the malls in Bangkok, I mean, it's great. And another one is probably something we did for Lawton to allow so Lawton is basically an insurance provider, and we created a claim management system so people can submit their claims and they can follow whether it was accepted or, yeah. So that's two interesting projects we did recently, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I heard you talk about like brand storytelling and technology before, but I'm wondering like, will the marketing agency still exist in the future, or like tech and automation will be replaced?
Interesting, yeah. So the technology has always been changing the way we work, and this is definitely going to keep happening. But there is a part that is difficult to replicate for computers is creativity, basically. It's hard to come up with a creative direction or a strategy. So I think there will always be a role for that, for agencies. And of course, agencies will keep adjusting to new technologies and use them. So I don't think it's going to challenge completely the agency model, but of course, there will be change. Patrick, yeah.
Okay, talking about technological advancement, I'm just gonna throw a fun one out there. Do you think AI robots will take over the world?
Okay, I was thinking about this recently actually, and it's really fun because, so I was reading a lot about AI and this new AI generation programs or chatbots, for example. And something funny was happening with chatbots because they basically use all the conversation publicly available on the internet and turn that into a dialogue with people. And they realized that those chatbots were becoming racist or homophobic because there is so many racist and homophobic content out there, right? And then they had to actually adjust it so it would they wouldn't get biased or use some of this content. And to think about that, many of the movies that you see, it's AI taking over the world and killing all the humans. So if we follow the same logic, the AI would be reading on the internet and be like, oh, AI should be killing all the humans because this is what I see out there. So there is definitely some, we should be careful, yeah. And there is some ethic about AIs. People are working on that. Hopefully the ethical part happens before real AI is released in the world. So we're not there yet, but it's an interesting thing to think about. So yeah, that's my point of view.
For sure. Very interesting.
Yeah.
Microsoft or Google, which one do you prefer and why?
I think it's kind of a love-hate relationship with both. there are things I love about some and things that I hate about, about both. Basically, Google, I like how they brought everything online and how useful. They really led the everything online kind of movement, and I think that was, from a productivity perspective, for me, that was great. But their freemium model, which I also like, implies selling my personal data, which I like much less. Finally, the reason why I don't like Microsoft is because it's expensive. And as a kid, I could not afford Microsoft product. It was just like completely out of my range, and my parent wouldn't understand why we suddenly need to pay 300 euros for a software. It's like, what is this? So I didn't like their model back then. They changed a lot, giving stuff away for students, which is very smart. But I still have this stigma somehow that Microsoft is expensive, although I use it every day and I think they're doing good stuff. So yeah, like every tool, sometimes you love it, sometimes you hate it. Yeah.
Okay, hi Max. Can you share with us what is the safest way to back up your data?
Yeah, so first of all, never think you will never lose your data. It doesn't happen to someone else. It will happen to you at some point, whatever it is. So it depends on what kind of data, of course. If it's text, I think you should always consider things like Google Doc, or Word got way better at backing up as you write, but things that just save immediately and that are online if possible will be a good way to never lose any text, especially when you have a history of everything that happened, right? So Google Doc, really good for that. And for files, any kind of Dropbox, Google Drive, Microsoft Box, or whatever they call it. All those online file sharing things have an app that you can install on your computer, right? And that will create a folder on your computer that is automatically backed up on the internet, right? So every time you press save, the file is just sent immediately as long as you're online. And even better, they will keep revisions of the save so you can go back in time and see what was the file yesterday in case you broke something. So if you log in into the online interface, you will be able to see several versions of the file, which can be very useful as well. So I think today everybody should use that because you can have a lot of space for free, and you just don't want to go through the trouble of redoing something you already done. When it really takes maybe 20 minutes to learn how to use it if you're not technology oriented, and then you never have to think about it again. So, yeah.
Ah, great. Thank you, ha. Is there? Okay. So why should I care about my online privacy?
I do care a lot about my online privacy, yeah. I think when you're in a business community, first of all, the image that you project to other is quite important. You are your own brand, right? So you need to be careful about what you're willing to show. So what you're actually sharing is important, I think. And then, as we mentioned before, just by getting a few personal information, someone can pretend to be you online or on the phone, and they can easily get access to more information and take over your, I don't know, whatever, social account or something like this. So I think it's very important to understand, to be careful about who you're sharing with and where you're sharing your personal information. For example, sharing a screen capture of your passport with, if it might ever be online, you should never share the whole picture with the birth date and the actual passport number. You should erase it out or something like this. I mean, unless you're sharing it with someone that you trust. But I wouldn't be posting my passport like, hey, I'm taking the plane, everyone, with my full ID on my Instagram, because everyone can see that. So they have my birth date, my passport number, where I'm born. Yeah, they could make some damage if they want. So I think you should be careful.
Thank you. So,
Thanks. Rose?
what new technologies are you most excited about?
I tend to like the one that might destroy the world, so AI. But more seriously, I've been very impressed with the last development in image generation, AI-assisted image generation. So I don't know if you ever read about DALL-E and other online tools that let you generate image from a text prompt. But basically, today, you can generate professional-looking artwork of an elephant going to the moon or anything like that would be professional looking. You can generate it from a text prompt. And it's not as easy as just saying, it's a whole paragraph. It's not just a little sentence. So you need to describe it in detail. But the point is, I was never good at Photoshop, and I was always very frustrated that although I'm from tech, I cannot use Photoshop, for example. But I can write. And now I can, if I take the time, I can generate pretty much any picture that I want using those tools. And I'm pretty sure the next step will be video. Facebook already did a tool that can generate a 5-second video. So if I were to write 2 people walking under an umbrella on the street, shiny reflection, dark background, I would get a 5-second video of 2 people walking on the street under an umbrella. And it would take me years to learn how to do that, but now I can do it in 5 seconds. In reality, it takes more time to curate the image because you're going to have 50 different results, and then you have to choose the one that really represents what you want and iterate on it. But the point is, I can do it. And I think next thing will probably be interior design, maybe coding at some point. So I think all the creative tasks will become much more accessible to everyone thanks to AI. So it is exciting that, yeah, I'm really looking forward to what's going to happen next year.
Going back to that question, does that going to kill the graphic designer jobs in the future or editors?
I think graphic designer will have to adapt as well. The graphic designer will have a better creativity and they will be more sensitive to the details. So they will be better creator if they also know how to use AI creation tool. But I think if you're a graphic designer and you're telling yourself, AI is for the weak, I will never need to learn about it, in 5 to 10 years, you might be challenged. Yeah. So it's probably the right moment to learn how you can use those new tools because, yeah, they can save a lot of time for the, like imagine you need to create a night sky. It can take you hours, but an AI can generate a 50 night sky in a second, and then you just pick, oh, this one is good, and you keep going from there. Because your creativity will be better than people that don't know anything about graphic design.
True.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Any more questions? Everybody is already satisfied? All right, thank you, everyone. That was very interesting. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. So looking forward to the next session.